I haven't done one of these in a while, and since then a lot has changed. But on top of that, a lot of new people also started watching, so welcome to the tour around my workplace. This entire setup has been years in the making, and since I would definitely call myself a perfectionist, I've been slowly figuring out what works best for me, and hopefully some of you will find some inspiration in this video for organizing your own workplace in the best way possible. You will definitely notice a theme here of less equals more. I'm sure for everyone the word minimalism means something slightly different, and I know it's been so overused lately, but for me minimalism is not just getting rid of as much things as possible, but rather everything you use having a distinct and very important purpose in your everyday life. But I also want to emphasize that I'm definitely pro decoration, as long as it overall goes with the clean and simple vibe. You want to make yourself comfortable and feel pleasant in your work environment, but also paying attention to constantly keeping it tidy and clean, because cluttered desk almost always equals cluttered mind. Even though I usually don't have a lot of stuff laying around, it's so nice having this 2-meter wide slab where you can just move around freely. It just gives me an opportunity to place anything wherever I like, and it also weirdly provides sense of stability and openness. When it comes to my monitor, I haven't changed it in a bit. I still use this 27-inch 4K LG display. It's even now one of the best bang for the buck high-resolution monitors you can get. It's 95% of P3 color gamut with 400 nits brightness. Pretty standard stuff for nowadays, but I just really appreciate how clean it looks, with small bezels, and of course this arm that I bought separately, which gives much more flexibility in terms of how I want to use it and the desk as well. There's so much more space when you don't have a stand right in front, and I also think it looks way more aesthetically pleasing. So I am definitely in the camp of having a single main monitor setup. But you can also see that I'm using my MacBook screen as a secondary display, and usually even the iPad on the side, just to, let's say, watch something or jot down some notes. And speaking of the laptop, I still use the M1 MacBook Air. I still appreciate this wedge-shaped design so much, because even though it's technically not the thinnest MacBook anymore, at a point where you most often grab a hold of it, it almost feels like paper, which I always found cool. And apart from that, the M1 itself is so incredibly fast even now. I noticed that the more time passes and the better it gets optimized for Mac-based apps like Final Cut or Pixelmator, the faster and smoother the process becomes. And I thought for a certain period that I will be switching to the M3 Air that is about to come out in March, but we already got the processor itself in the baseline MacBook Pro. And since then, people compared every single benchmark to the older models, and while it definitely is faster in some scenarios like 3D modeling, for my basic 4K video and photo editing, it's almost exactly the same. So yeah, I'm just straight up not gonna be switching this anytime soon. And you also probably noticed by now that I don't have any speakers on this whole desk. And you see, I could go two different routes. A lot of people just plug in their MacBook to a monitor, place it on the side, and then have a different keyboard that they use. And I was thinking of also going that direction, which is by far the most popular. But then I would need a separate pair of speakers, another keyboard, and even a new trackpad, because I'm just constantly using it. Sometimes even more than a mouse. And since I use the trackpad, I love the MacBook keyboard, and on top of that I would be losing an additional display where I always have some background stuff open. So at the end of the day, there were just too many drawbacks, and was also requiring a lot more stuff, which is of course more expensive, and on top of that would be taking a lot more space. The speakers on this laptop are perfect for my needs, and having an additional support display on the bottom is what I'm so used to at this point. And the iPad on the side just makes everything complete. It is actually the iPad Mini 6. I was debating on whether to get an 11-inch one or this size, and I guess this is the closest thing to a page of a book, since that is also what I use it for the most, apart from watching content and taking notes here and there. This was also the first iPad mini that came with this modern looking design, and it was really a no-brainer, especially now with my iPhone 15 Pro, where I can use one cable to charge every gadget. And I also knew the redesign for this iPad will not be happening anytime soon. And yes, the mouse that I'm using is the Magic Mouse. Hot take, it's by far the best mouse you can use for Mac, and it's a hill I'm willing to die on. Even though I know everyone makes fun of it, the touch-sensitive function and scrolling effortlessly just cannot be replaced with anything else. And I guess this is the only thing that I'm using that still requires the Lightning port, apart from my AirPods Max. But both of those are changing this year and I'm really looking forward to that. And now let's move on to the peripherals that complement the overall aesthetic. I bought a couple of these aluminum holders over time, and I really tried my best to get the overall theme and match them. As you can see, holder for the iPad, headphone hanger, as well as 2-in-1 MagSafe stand, so everything has its own resting place. I still have an extra cables hanging from behind for my camera and an iPad, and when I'm really in a rush, I can plug in my iPhone as well, even though I charge it wirelessly in like 95% of cases. And these cable holders that you just place to the side of your desk are a must, because it looks way cleaner than having a bunch of cables laying around everywhere. And same applies for underneath the desk. The cable management is your #1 priority if you want to have a clean looking setup. I screwed this cage that I got from IKEA to the bottom of the desk, and literally all the cables are laying there, as you can see. The only thing reaching the floor is the RGB light wire. Everything else just disappears completely from your view. Ergonomics is also very important for comfort and focus. So having a proper footrest as well as a really nice chair is a must, since I'm already spending sometimes even more than 10 hours a day here. There are plenty of nice options out there and you don't have to go for Herman Miller, but I tried a bunch of them and it's definitely the most comfortable chair you can get. It's at least the only one where I can sit for hours on end and never feel any back pain. And there you have it. This was my clean and minimal 2024 desk setup. Hopefully some of the stuff will also be changing soon, since I'm maybe planning on switching my monitor altogether when the next gen Apple Vision Pro becomes available, because this is still the first gen one, but it's definitely something I thought about. Even though I like the minimal vibe, I still want it to be aesthetically pleasing, so there are some decorations here and there that I try to blend into the environment as much as possible. Let me know what you think of it down in the comments. Leave a like and subscribe if you got inspired by it, and as always, thanks for watching. So welcome to the tour of my workplace. So welcome to the tour of my workplace.